He is.
Nice, a nice eagle logo there.
I know. I think he did request it. I gotta ask her. I think he did say.
Tony was talking to you about.
Tony's not, he's excused, right?
Yes, we did mention.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
December 6th.
Yeah, wasn't it,
Yeah, yep.
First meeting in January.
Yep.
wasn't it like with or without Blue's Cruise? Was it with or without on the cruise?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, I can Tony.
Nice to the front door is open now.
It is.
Nice.
New year, new door.
Temporarily.
Oh,
It'll close again in the spring.
oh, really? They working on the steeple, is that what it's called? now?
Soffits.
Sitting over at Fatty's one night and I looked up, I go, "Ooh, that needs some work.
They had a piece fall off, that was the problem. So,
It did fall.
of the summer.
It
That's
was
what it was.
that piece that was back over there, right? That was good size too.
So they got up there, they took down some more and secured what was left for now, and
Oh,
then replace it and paint it in the spring.
Well, speaking of New Year, just want to wish everyone a Happy New Year.
As well.
same.
Fit to you?
Gotta wait. Ready? We're going to start by Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please, Cindy.
Shannon Lorenzo,
Here.
Rebecca Anderson,
Here.
John Lopez,
Here.
Joseph P.
Here.
Lawrence Kuzinski.
Here.
Michael Valentine.
Here.
Welcome, everyone. This is a meeting of the Planning Board of the Town of Lancaster. Please keep in mind that we are an advisory and recommending board and not a final decision-making body. The rules of the Planning Board allow us to recognize only the petitioners of the various projects and their representatives. We ask that anyone wishing to make comment do so in writing. Okay, members, I think before you should have the minutes from December, our last meeting in December. December 6th. Any additions, deletions, or comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. We'll move on to the communications list. Any questions? Okay. Move on then to our first agenda item, which would be the rezone and site plan approval for 5767 and 5775 Genesee Street.
I'd like, Mr. Chair, to state that I'd have to abstain from this since Mr. Wicks, who's the principal of this project, is a client of mine. I've had nothing to do with this project at all, but I cannot participate.
Okay, so moved. Thank you.
Hello again.
Hi, Mike.
For the record, my name is Michael Metzger with Metzger Civil Engineering, 8245 Sheridan Drive. Williamsville, New York, and with me tonight is my client, Mr. Douglas Wicks. You folks are very familiar with what we're attempting to do. There's been a long history with many meetings, but just a real quick rehash. This is the configuration of the existing two properties right now. Genesee Street across the top, Stony Road over here, north pointing upwards. The first property, 5767, has two structures on it. One is a commercial building, automotive repair facility with an existing home, a single-family home on it. The second property, 5775, very deep lot, fronting on Genesee Street, 417 feet of depth, that has an existing single-family home on it. What we are looking to do, what we're hoping to be able to do, is to reconfigure the properties, for one thing, in order to separate out the home where Doug lives from the commercial building, and it doesn't make any sense for them to be on one parcel anymore. And at the same time, while doing that, creating a lot for that home that is in compliance with a residential zoning classification. So we would need to rezone the property. Right now, everything is zoned GC. And what we're looking to do is rezone this portion of the property here, the back part of it, to residential, so that you have the single-family home in a residential zoning. And at the same time, while this is all happening, it would actually create another residential single-family home building lot that is in full compliance with the residential zoning classification. And what that would leave would be the commercial building still within the GC zoning, and then the existing single-family home on a reasonably sized lot that is also zoned GC. It would have a lot depth of 217 feet. The steps, the multiple steps, relatively small project, but a lot of steps. As I mentioned, we've been here several times before. Most recently, while we were in July, and issued a neg deck, but then realized that there was a better way of doing it. So back in September, on September 6th, you did two things. You held a public hearing for the subdivision, the minor subdivision, and you also reissued the negative declaration for the subdivision and for the rezoning. After that, we went to the town board, and the town board on September 18th did in fact issue a negative declaration for the subdivision and for the rezoning. Since that time, we've been with the Zoning Board of Appeals, actually just in December, on December 14th, for the area variances that were required. Area variances, a few of them are needed to make the project work and to make everything really make sense as far as the configuration of lots and setbacks and things. But there was a vast majority, more than double, 2 times as many variances that were there just really to clean up some things that had evolved through the years as things changed, as the zoning changed. It left non-compliance issues, and speaking with Mr. Fischone, he felt it would be best, let's clean up the file for the properties. So we went to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and they did in fact grant all the area variances that we were requesting. So that was the last step. Now the steps from this point would be to request you folks to make a recommendation to the town board for the rezoning from GC to residential, and also for the subdivision reconfiguration of the lots, upon which we would, if we were successful with that, go to the town board. They would hold public hearing for the rezoning and hopefully grant the rezoning and subdivide the property. Seeker's done, variances are in place. We're here to ask for your recommendation on the subdivision and the rezoning. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Any questions from the board at all? Ed, you good on this? Emily? Laura? Matt?
Next presentation. It wasn't a recommendation by the zoning officer, it was a requirement to meet the zoning code.
Okay.
That was the purpose of the variances, and it wasn't made proper.
Excuse me?
Before making a recommendation for this, my first letter and my recommendation to this board when we create two separate zoning districts out of the same lot is to create some sort of a visual buffer between the two zoning districts. So if it pleases this board to put a condition on the rezone and the site plan to install a privacy fence to contain the existing automotive use of whatever other commercial use that might happen on Genesee Street, separating that from the residential occupancies.
So between lot 1 and 3? Matt?
The two northern lots and the two southern lots.
Okay.
We read through the code, the planning board does have that authority to make that a condition of any site plan approval, just to prevent any future conflicts that are going to happen between different zoning districts.
Mr. Witt, you understand that, right? What we're trying to accomplish there?
Yeah, I think under normal circumstances, if we were creating something where there was going to be something new, you know, if we had two empty building lots here, I think we would fully support that recommendation, but considering that everything is there already, I mean, no one's going into this with any misunderstandings of what they're getting. It's these properties exist, these buildings exist. Should someone in the future decide to put up a fence, by all means, you know, some kind of a visual buffer would be appropriate and something that they choose to do. I don't think it's absolutely necessary that it be done when right now we've got the same ownership on all sides of all property lines.
But that could change.
It could.
And I'm thinking, were you thinking a solid privacy fence?
Solid privacy fence to contain the disaster that's at that corner right now. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat what it is. It is what it is. And we're creating a general business district along Genesee Street that's going to directly abut a residential district on Stony Grove. There's going to be conflict there. There's going to be operations had on that automotive use. And you've seen what's happened there in the last 30 years on that automotive use. Now, yes, it was on one lot and it was owned by the same individual and it was tolerated. But as soon as that ownership changes hands, it's going to create a conflict. And it's going to reflect poorly on this town. So, not necessary, it is necessary.
It is. I agree. And it's about 270 feet of fencing to go across that line, 267 or something. And it's expensive, but if I can do it, you can do it. I put a fence up. And it's pricey. But a solid 6-foot-high, solid privacy fence, I think is going to be a condition. Sorry, Mike, but I just can't let this slide. My other question is, that garage that's up against the split, right there, did you get a variance for that?
Yes.
Setback?
Yep,
And there's no fencing or anything there?
that's correct.
Okay, so the back of the garage is more or less on the line? You drew it so that the entire garage is on lot 2?
Yes, it is.
Okay. That's really messy when parts hang over. The
Understood.
eaves and everything are off?
I don't believe so. Let me ask Doug, the garage itself, is there an eave that extends beyond the wall?
No,
It's a straight,
there's no overhang on the west side.
on the back side?
Right, there's an overhang on the back side, south,
Okay,
but
Nothing on the west side.
nothing on the west side?
but not on our lot as we look at it, not on the property line.
And sir, do you live in one of the two houses? Or?
I do,
Okay, you're there, okay.
Yeah, I've lived there for 21 years now, but I grew up there too, so it was.
So he's looking to segregate it off so he can sell the commercial building. He will still be residing.
Right, and even though it's your house, this is the opportunity to require a fence, because we want to live forever, but we don't. And no matter who is there, whether it's you or not, it might be the people on lot 2 that give troubles too. You don't know. So I just didn't see a fence.
Before I discuss this with you any further, let me ask Doug, do you have an objection to putting that fence up? Would you prefer not to do it?
The separation is great. I mean, it's okay. It's the cost, At this juncture, it's been extremely expensive, to far outweigh anything. So, but I understand. I mean, there's I wouldn't say privacy. That's wood works.
We're not dictating the material, we're just saying not chain link,
Right, yeah,
okay? We're just saying solid.
yeah.
It could be sticks for all I care, as long as you can't see through it.
Right. Yeah, I could, if that's just a condition, I would have to work that out.
Is there a time frame, Matt, that you'd want this fence up by? Or could we give them 6 months?
Conditions of the approvals,
Yeah.
and the approvals. I mean, typically, an approval is 24 months for site plan review.
Okay,
The filing of subdivision, I think, is going to need to be done fairly quickly, since it's not going to be filed as a map cover, but rather than by deed filings, and providing surveys. So, there could be timeframe parameters. I mean, the point is that the automotive use should have been contained since day
Originally.
one.
right.
Rear area that may have been identified as the parts storage, the vehicle storage. There's all kinds of regulation specifically geared towards the automotive repair facilities.
Right.
How long the car could be outside, registered, unregistered, customer parking, repair locations, things of that nature. Nothing exists right now.
So Mike, it sounds like your client might be amenable to this condition, unless I'm hearing something differently.
I would say if it was me, I'd probably still like to discuss it a little bit further, but that's why I wanted to ask Doug before entertaining a discussion any further.
One more question. Do you have a buyer for lot 4?
No. It's, it just, to me, it made sense.
Sure.
You
It
know.
does make sense.
I mean,
I just wondered if you had somebody
No.
looking already, or if you had marketed it at all.
no, I know, it
Right.
would be too premature. I wouldn't.
Exactly, but.
I know in talking to my neighbors, nobody said they were interested, but nobody said they weren't interested either. Like, one or two people, maybe grown children,
Yeah,
want to have it on that.
I mean, it has floodplain on it, which doesn't mean you can't have a house, it just means it takes a few extra steps
Right.
to build theirs, if people have to have a basement, so, it's not, I don't think the floodplain, it was on the fringes, wasn't it?
It's on the fringes, it doesn't quite get to the property.
Yeah, so,
I guess what I'm struggling with the fence here is, we're trying to get a crystal ball out and envision that somebody in the future might have a problem, somebody who might have relief on their own accord by putting in their own fence, if they should find that there is a problem there.
but who's gonna be on the commercial property?
What's that?
What's going on with lot 1? What use is there?
I'm assuming that will remain a commercial.
Well, then it needs a fence.
Well, I would like to leave that up to whoever ends up living there. Present owner is not desirous of a fence.
I think it needs a
The
fence.
code dictates that.
It needs a fence.
Supplemental regulations in the light commercial and general commercial district requires it to be enclosed.
Yeah, it needs a fence.
Okay. That I was not aware of. What is that, Matt? So the code specifically says that a fence has to be there?
All uses except for signs, landscaping, and off-street parking, loading, and stacking must be completely enclosed.
Must be what? I'm sorry.
Completely enclosed.
Talks about other enclosures of waste materials, the automotive use areas, staging areas. Like I said, I mean, this should have been pretty much part of the original operation of the facility from day one. But again, it evolved, became existing non-conforming.
Right.
The building was built on one joining parcel with another building on. I mean, things change throughout the years, but we see what the real-time conditions are. And as I said earlier, it's going to reflect badly on this town to allow that to continue when there's an opportunity to clean.
Right.
And it may even help the business.
Well, we could debate all day long whether it's advisable or not, but the code is the code. If the code specifically calls
Code's a
it.
code, and this board looks to the building department, and specifically to Matt for his recommendation, and I think we'd be hard pressed to go against his recommendation, frankly.
Well, the code, yeah, shouldn't go against that.
Or the code.
Yeah, understood.
But it's only mapped between commercial and residential.
Sure.
There doesn't need a fence between 1 and 2.
No.
So, but it has to go all the way across,
That one.
even though there's
Yes.
nothing back there.
Okay. Thanks for pointing that out, Matt.
Okay, I'm done.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, I'll look for a motion, look for somebody to make a motion for a rezone of the property.
Are we separating? We're separating?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I'll make, I think the rezone is, so I'll make a recommendation for the rezone. Is the fence on the rezone?
Matt?
Yeah.
I think it's a stipulation to the
The
recommendation,
stipulation for
right?
the fence is on the rezone, not on the site plan. Or is it on both?
Could be on both. It's one action in reality.
We'll do it on both.
Okay.
Then it'll be there. So with the condition that a solid privacy fence be installed between lots 1 and 2 and lot 3, perpendicular to Stony, horizontal to Genesee Street at the lot line.
Okay, look for a second on that motion.
A second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
And one abstain. Okay, moving on to the next topic there. Look for a subdivision motion.
Motion to approve it?
Motion to approve
Yeah,
subdivision.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Are you
subdivision
including the condition on the fencing?
with the same condition. on the
Same
fence.
wording?
Same wording.
Look for a second on that motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain.
The only subdivision I've seen in years that made sense, Mike.
Wow.
I actually like it. I think it was a good plan.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you're
That
on
was
to the
going to make
town
me
board.
smile the rest of the night.
You're on to the town board now, so thank you very much.
Starting off on a high note.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you, too.
All right, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which would be the amended site plan for Casey Machine located at 74 Ward Road.
Good evening, Darrell Martin, architect. I know we were back here, I think it was back in October we were here last, and at that point, we had some things with Mr. Schiller that we needed to resolve. To rehash this, now that we're putting we would like to put a 50,000 square foot masonry and steel addition onto the existing Casey Machine property on Ward Road. At the last meeting, I think we had some stormwater issues that Mr. Schiller needed to be resolved, and I think we took care of that with the engineer. And Matt had asked that we put the sidewalk from the one exit around and to the parking, or to the existing sidewalk area for exiting. I think we pretty much took care of all that stuff. Everybody's seen it? Matt, have you?
As far as,
The sidewalk?
I saw that. yeah.
Okay, so I think that was what was the last issues we had. I don't know if there's anything else any other questions?
Did you have any outstanding variances?
No.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
No.
Ed, I see we've got your engineering review here.
Daryl, this is, I just got this done this morning, so I didn't, here, just give it to you just for your file.
Anything else, Ed?
No.
We did get the paperwork for the maintenance agreement for the structure. That's been hopefully taken, or in the process of being taken care of, so that's all set.
That was going to be your point, Emily? Maintenance?
I have it in here. I don't know if it was signed by you or?
It wouldn't be me, it would be the owners.
Okay.
And I know they had signed it, I think it was being filed with the clerk, I think, is that it, or does it come to you?
I have a copy in here, but I'll double check that we have a signed one received back to the town, because I don't have it in here right now.
Okay,
But I'll double check that before
okay.
approval.
So I guess we're asking for the recommendation to go to town? Or
Matt, anything for you to add?
So just clarifying, that stormwater maintenance agreement is going to be filed at the office of the county clerk.
Prior to, or we can do it as a condition of the,
Condition of the recommendation.
as
Yeah, prior to town board approval.
prior to town board approval, yeah.
So it wouldn't be a condition, right? It would be.
You guys can recommend approval.
Yeah, we'll recommend with the condition that what he just said. Cindy, did you get it in wording? Thank you, because I didn't. We
Yeah, 'cause I just don't have, I don't have.
We did seeker, yes, in
October
October,
18th.
yeah. And the
So
town
that-
board approved it in November,
Okay,
the seeker,
okay.
negative deck.
And I kind of hate to be the guy that's always the hard nose around here, but I want to put on record that there were no responses from the other agencies within the town. I have a concern regarding Ward Road in and of itself. The road was installed as a T turnaround. Since then, we've had several occupancies built off of a T turnaround with private driveways. The access road to this site and another proposed development site are going to cross through privately owned properties coming off of the T turnaround without any maintenance, access agreements. Who's going to make sure that the road is plowed? I mean, it's somebody's driveway, obviously it's going to get done, but it's unclear because everything in that complex has a Ward Road address. As you look at the overall map, Ward Road runs north and south, driveway access run east and west. That is not Ward Road, those are private driveways. In my last conversation with an up-and-coming project, the current address on a landlocked parcel that has only access from the turnaround on Ward Road. So I've had conversations with our highway department, our supervisor, anybody that was willing to listen, everybody went to look at it, they looked at it and left. So this is where we are today. We're amending this. The project is a great project, and it's good that they're expanding, but I'm concerned that the driveway entrances that come off of that T turnaround, we need to make sure there's emergency access to those buildings.
Is there anything we can do about that on this particular project?
I think that's the job of the planning board when they do site plan reviews, to make sure those I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Correspondence from the initial building of this facility had some conversation as to what to do with this driveway. Are we going to make it a road? Are we going to make it a private easement? What are we going to do with it? And nothing happened. It's just there. The letter was dated and it was just kind of left there. So one more time, I'm just, just going on record, letting everybody understand that the northern half of any access road that runs east and west is going to service this facility. We have another project that's coming shortly to service a facility south of this location on the same 33-foot wide private access separate tax parcel.
Coming off the corner, you mean?
Due south of this facility.
Open land south.
It's a Walden Avenue address and it's nowhere near touching Walden. If there is anything on file, I'd love to have a copy of it. What I see, there's really nothing there.
Okay. You are on record, Matt.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board members?
No.
Rebecca?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Then I'll look for a motion.
Oh, I like machine shops, so I'll make a recommendation that this project be approved with the condition as already stated by Matt.
How does that affect
What was
us?
that? What was that?
Stormwater maintenance agreements.
Oh, it's our water maintenance agreement, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was the road up.
No, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
No, before that.
I say, you tell the owner, I'm not telling. About the road. I think,
Can you read out the condition again?
So it'll be the stormwater maintenance agreement received prior to town board.
Right,
okay,
The filing with the county clerk.
following the county clerk.
that I can.
That you can do. No,
That I
I'm not
can get
asking
done.
to solve the problems of the roadway with one,
Yeah, please.
with one
I'm not a road guy.
very wordy condition. No, so I'm making the recommendation that we approve the project with the filing.
Maintenance agreement, okay.
Look for a second on that motion. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Okay. Larry?
All right, thank you all.
For any more additions
set.
on this
Thank you.
parcel. They get any bigger, they're gonna have to move. We're up against the wetland now. I wouldn't know what to do with that road. You're saying once they hit, Ward Road was ended, and then it's
Dead
been,
road, with a T turnaround.
right, that, you get-
That is to be expanded.
and so
They took multiple
there's no
driveways off.
town
the tee.
ownership, you're saying.
It ends right at the right-of-way, 66 feet wide. Anything east of that right-of-way is all private property. And in this case, the northern 33 feet access that could have been a road is a separate tax parcel from number 74 Ward Road. And we have the identical condition to the south of that. So there's a large landlocked parcel, and the only access to that from a road is another SBL number, 33 feet wide by however many feet long, that touches that piece. That's the only access to that property.
Okay.
So when we look at it from a 30,000 square foot view way up in the sky, and we put get our planning juices going, you could easily see Lancaster Parkway connecting to Ward Road, and then somehow passing through what is now a town park, but it could have, but it didn't.
And there's nothing off of Walding, because those are other private properties.
There was nothing.
Got it, got
Everything
it.
to the north of that is all residential, agricultural, residential.
Peppermint Road.
Okay. Anything from the board members that you want to discuss? Nothing? Okay. Ed, anything new from you? Emily, anything from the law department?
No, nothing tonight.
Matt?
Do you have anything on these forms? I hand our applicants what we have, what we've utilized, 31 copies, X, Y, Z. By the way, give me a PDF that we never get. It's not required, it's not part of the application. We need 31. Every application, we have at least a dozen copies sitting in our office, because the town attorney's office doesn't want it. They need the electronic copies for referrals. So I really feel that the longer this lingers, the more problematic the application process is going to be, because it's already complicated.
So you mentioned it a bunch of times. What can we do to move forward with
We've
your,
had discussions about reducing the number of copies and requiring an electronic version.
lots of them?
So if this board is okay with what we have drafted already, happy to make that switch, get it up on the website, make it available to everybody and anybody that's willing to
So-
make an application.
I'm willing to commit if you send it one more time. At the next meeting, I think we can make a decision on that, whether we support or don't support. That'll give it 2 weeks, and would that be okay? At least that way we'll have some resolution to it. Because you have brought that up a few times.
I mean,
Right,
for-
but what you're saying then is that we're gonna get everything electronically fed. And
No, it was less than.
there will be less paper copies submitted for those agencies and members that need the paper copy, but at the same time, the town is going to be able to require the electronic copy so it could do its role in the referral process.
All right.
I believe, if I'm going back, I haven't looked in a while, we would still get paper copies. The engineer's office would leave far less, right?
Just one.
Just one. Now you get.
I got one.
Oh, you don't get 7 or something today?
No, I just got
Oh. You can keep that one. According to Matt's statement.
Right.
I think we had it down to like 17, if I remember.
17 and the flash drive. But I think that there were more issues than just the number of copies that needed to be adjusted inside that application and that booklet. So unless everything should stay as is in that booklet, and we're only changing that number of copies in the flash drive, it can be out tomorrow. But I did think that there were other items, and that's what I had sent an email today about needing one more time to make sure that if there's anything else to be incorporated and changed in that booklet, that's all done and released in one outing. I didn't want to confuse people with saying, okay, we're going to do this portion today, and then we're going to address that issue. We thought a consolidated effort to have everything reviewed and updated. And then
So we'll look at it one more time?
Unless there's no other issues. I mean, if it's just changing my 31s to 17s and adding that flash drive, we're ready.
Well, with the fees that were adopted last night, would that get changed in there too, then, wouldn't it?
I think so.
Wait till Albany makes their change. And as it is right now, somebody can walk into the department tomorrow with an application and we're going to honor. the
Yeah, we have,
fees
yeah,
that-
yeah, we have to, yeah, until
So
deal.
once, and that's a fee change, that's a simple
Yeah,
correction.
And I think we do want to have on our applications the email addresses of the applicants also. That was something that.
yeah, that'd be helpful.
So interestingly enough, I think this sort of leads into our last topic that we have on here. 2024 should be a good year for the planning board. In case you didn't know, there were a few people that were spearheading trying to get a planning department put in for the town, and the town has agreed to fund that department. And so the purpose of this department is to try to bring some transparency to our application process, or our entire process here. Throughout all of last year, where there were a couple instances, at least a couple, where the applicants were confused, some of the members were confused, myself included, as to where we were going. And with our new planning department that we're starting up, there's going to be some changes coming along. The first one is just a real estate change in that Cindy is now working underneath, or an organizational change, sorry, working underneath the law department, if I'm not mistaken, right? And has relocated to the basement of, or the lower portion of the new addition. She has graciously offered to take us through there, anybody that wants to go through after the meeting, and show you the space. But it's going to be good for us in that she's going to be dedicated to try to coordinate with us. We're going to have a more concerted effort for coordination and, again, transparency to all the members, to the public, and to the town board too. That's one of the changes. I'll ask Cindy and Ed to talk about it because they were part of that. Another change is that, in case you didn't know, Supervisor Leary will now be our planning board liaison. He was unable to make the meeting today, but he will be at our meetings moving forward. And so that'll help also bring some more transparency from us into the town board, having the supervisor sit here. So those are, I think, two good things for us moving forward. Cindy, I tried to give a little bit of an overview. I'm sure I botched it. If you want to add everything.
I think that's exactly it. I think really what had happened is that Tom Fowler, to his credit, had seen that some applicants were coming to the board meetings, and for us to table a project after a few minutes of them being here because they hadn't submitted something and there wasn't communication from the planning board to them, that's going to be one of those things that is cleaned up. me getting information more quickly to the attorney's office, because I'm obviously working with them, obviously is going to be an advantage. We had actually visited the town of Clarence to their planning department, and they have two very energetic, one is Jonathan Flower and Andrew Schaefer, and both of them have seemed to find a path that works for Clarence. I'm not saying it's perfect for Lancaster, but definitely a path that helps their applicants in understanding our process and in providing maybe a better project for their community. And anything that can be done to better the town of Lancaster and better inform every board, whether it's the town board, the zoning board, the planning board, I think that's only to help our community and to take some of the burden off of certain individuals that have had too much of that placed on them. So that is part of my role, is to help the town attorney and his assistant also in making sure that when these minutes are done, they are distributed in a timely fashion, and to make sure that everyone is understanding of what was accomplished at these meetings and then how the next steps are to be taken. It's not done alone. Tom has been a huge asset. I can't say enough about him and what he's helped with. And going forward, I mean, there are things like providing more information on our town website, having a comment email so that information is being distributed, having actually website tabs so that we have more information of our projects that are being discussed. Our LIDA actually has a great website that shows each and every one of our projects that are in front of them. And something along those lines might be a possibility to show people what's happening in their neighborhood, or not, just that in their community. So I think communication, information, I think it's starting still with the town board, having that initial concept conversation is important, and then for it to progress through all the normal channels, I think just makes it a better project, and the more communication, maybe a few more eyes on it, just helps the applicant and all the departments that are involved. And that's truly the driving focus, is to make better projects and include all the departments too.
So we're looking to do some changes here in '24, and we're going to be looking to the board to you guys to try to help us make those changes, to make recommendations, to look at the recommendations that are in front of you, and use your time that you've spent on the board and other boards, and say whether or not you think this is going to work, or if you think something should be tweaked. We're really looking for input from everybody. As Cindy said, they went and looked over at Clarence, and that works for Clarence, but doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work here. I'll throw an example out. One of the examples that they're talking about, that we've talked about, I'm sorry, when I say they, as Cindy said, it was primarily Tom spearheading this in the beginning with Cindy's help, and Matt's participated in a meeting or two. Ed and myself have been in meetings. One of the things that we've talked about, at least at the very last meeting, was that this board never looks for public input, has never looked for public input. And I never asked why before, but when we started talking about it, that was something that Clarence does. They look for public to have input all the time. I came from the zoning board, and the zoning board actually asked for public input. So I was curious as to why it was never included on this particular board. So maybe if that's something that you guys think would work for us, maybe that's something that we look to change immediately, or is not immediately, but one of the first things that we look to change. Because it really does help to inform the public if they're invited and able to talk and listen. Sometimes people aren't going to just show up if they can't say anything, if they're just going to have to sit back and try to look around and see if they can get to the board and see the board. Knowing that they actually have a voice and their voice can be heard is pretty powerful. So I think that maybe that's something that we should try to kick around sooner rather than later, And then there's other ideas that we can, as we move further along, we can start talking about. There is no time frame yet that's established. We've tried to do a preliminary time frame, but I think, and that preliminary time frame was March or April, if I'm not mistaken. So now till then, we're again going to be bringing things in front of you, asking for your input. If you could just please take a look at it and offer any suggestions or input, it would certainly help, because I think the more people that we have looking at this and really looking for your expertise to offer suggestions, because I think that's going to help everybody.
And Matt makes a great point about the projects and not having responses from some departments or any of the departments. And that's another issue that, or an item that needs to be addressed.
Yep.
So it will be. And I think through that, I think again, you just have more communication, you have more eyes on a project. People have changed in departments and in their roles, and sometimes, certain tasks get missed. So that'll be part of our discussions too.
I like the thoughts of some public input. I mean, we've received letters in the past from people who had comments on projects that they felt strongly about one way or the other. We stopped having public participation when we had to call the police.
That would do it.
Yeah, that's what did it.
Understood, but
Rules of order were totally ignored, and people had to be removed from the room, and it was very, very difficult sitting up here watching.
Because especially when the person who's doing it said, "Who's this Bob guy?" In Robert's Rules of Orders. He actually didn't ask, "Who's Bob?"
Well, anyway, so if you're going to take public comment at boards, we'll have to figure out how many minutes they get and
Yeah,
those type of
absolutely.
details.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we have always clearly said, if someone has comments, we look at everything in writing, and email is writing. So it helps people get their thoughts together when they sit down and put something in an email or mail letter, but they don't know about the projects.
One of the things being considered is also requiring the applicant to notify all property owners within 500 feet of the project site that there's a project being proposed.
Whether it's a subdivision or not.
Doesn't make any difference what it
Got
is.
it.
Commercial site doesn't make any difference.
Yep.
So that,
So once again, as we work together to get to that end, I mean, it's highly recommended that you speak to your peers in other municipalities that surround us. I mean, we're all a part of a county-wide area. The county has excellent resources as well as far as planning is concerned. Jump on their websites. And the town of Amherst is very clear. It's all out there. They have all the, pretty much everything we spoke about tonight. They help their municipality with keeping the comp plan updated, having a pulse on what the community wants in their town, not what the town wants to do.
Right.
This vision casting comes from the residents. We're all residents here.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the conflicts start to happen, is that, we've got other people that are willing to invest in, they're encroaching into family homesteads or other, there's all kinds of things that go on, right? So planning is that avenue to kind of smooth out those conflicts and do the best for the town, as opposed to a handful of individuals. So, that's what I do when I go home. I jump on websites and I look at all kinds of stuff, and, I try to apply it to our town, but oftentimes it doesn't work.
Right.
The town of Amherst is 110,000 people. It's way too big for us.
Yeah.
You can't possibly support that kind of legislation. But
Clarence is a good comparison. It's a good community to look at. Maybe Evans, too. Town of Evans has waterfront that we don't have to deal with, but they were progressive. They're kind of not so much anymore, I guess. I don't know.
we are special.
We are, we're landlocked,
It's good to glean, right?
Yeah.
To network with your peers, and, in our industry, that's what we do. We bounce stuff off of each other, but what works for us?
Yeah.
That's what we have to do.
yeah, I mean, we've got West Seneca, Orchard Park, and there's a few communities out there.
Orchard Park has some things in common. Yeah. Clarence, just today I was listening, and I don't really remember whether it was the supervisor speaking or who, but talking about how their residents are saying, we don't want Clarence to become Amherst, and we want it to continue to be rural and be like it is, and yet, you know, they have big acreage for their zoning. I think it's at least 5. I think it's 5 acre zoning. So, you know, talk about big lots.
The town wants that, it's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, again, it's going to be exciting for 24.
So specifically, other than looking at other towns and seeing what they're doing, is there anything else that you recommend that we?
Talk to the public, right? So comprehensive plan update is an excellent opportunity to do that because you're gonna get public input. I mean, let's face it, we're 5 years into this thing.
Right.
How much longer is it gonna be before we really start to concentrate on how did it go in the last 5 years? And where should we go?
How would we get it out in the public? Should we have the chairman talk to the bee or do something in the newspaper or something that might?
Workshops, work sessions.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, we're dealing with this moratorium topic,
Right,
okay? That's gonna get public involvement.
right.
Code changes, public involvement.
Yeah, as long as it gets out there in the media, you know, people like me that are troglodytes, we don't use our thumbs.
No, it's communication, one way or another, you know, electronically or verbally, in person, remotely, communicate.
Speaking of fees, one of the things, last night's reorg meetings that they did adopt a code change. They took all the fees out of the code,
Yeah.
and they've adopted a fee schedule that can be adopted, well, once a year. Typically, it can be changed more than that, but wants to be. As soon as that gets approved by the Department of State, then that'll be the new fee schedule. Most of the fees were upped for site review and subdivisions, and pretty much everything was changed.
It'll take about, what, 6 weeks, maybe 45 days? before
For Department of State, yeah, usually.
Roughly.
Okay, anything else anyone wants to discuss? As I said, Cindy will offer a tour if anybody wants to go right after. But I guess at this point, where did I see? I want to make sure I got it all. No. All right, I'll just move to adjourn. Forget it, we're all good.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Going down Elba? Going down Elba?
But yeah, it was snowing earlier today, it was at work. Like coming down like earlier and then,
I'll give you my agenda. How about that?
Sign your name on it.
oh my God. It's quite the extension cord you have.
What's your name?
How about your parking? So you want-